Smiley Day Geeks, welcome back to the Geek Sider Show. I'm Josh.
I'm Anna.
And in this video, we're going to be discussing Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 15. So if you haven't seen it yet and you want to avoid any spoilers, skip this video and come back later because everything we say from this point forward is going to be a spoiler. So the first part of this episode felt a lot like a recap from the last episode. Like they did a lot of RP, just kind of going over with Lord Esteros about what everybody did.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a good refresher because taking that week off, I think the audience does kind of need a reminder. I think the players probably need a reminder.
Probably.
So I think, even though I think it came about like naturally, just from a storytelling perspective, I think that's a good idea. And from there, they left Lord Esteros's, and where were they going?
Gianna Hexam.
And they got sidetracked by the Green Seekers. And
Yeah.
that whole section of the... I'm like, I do not trust the Green Seekers at all.
That was such an interesting RP to me because, there's a lot of shit we don't know about Orym. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he did not respond well to being threatened at all. He responded to that in a, you're not going to threaten me, buddy, type.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, yeah,
I
man.
missed
I
that
wish I could
entirely.
remember exactly what he did, but I tweeted, Orym doesn't like to be threatened.
I missed that.
Yeah, he was not having that. I feel like if they had come at him in an approachable manner, I feel like that would have been a better approach for Orym. Although I kind of think that approach earned them some respect from Ashton. I think he liked that upfront, tell us what we want or we're going to beat the shit out of you type approach.
The thing is, for me, is even though there were a couple of decent insight checks, and they're kind of telling the truth, it seems, when they say they're just out to do the right thing, but Ashton's right. The right thing is subjective. The right thing for me might not be the right thing for you or for somebody else.
Yeah.
And just that whole interrogation, it really seemed to me like the Green Seekers were trying to railroad them and twist all of their words into some kind of confession that they're behind everything.
They kept, regardless of what they said, they kept turning that around into making them responsible for the tower collapsing, almost as if we can just get this settled, we can get paid and get the fuck out of here, and we'll have righted this wrong. But I don't think it's as black and white as they think it is in their brains of, well, we're just trying to do right in the world. I absolutely agree that I don't trust them. And
so I am fully expecting a double cross. I don't know where it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be during the follow-up combat to this for next session, or if it's going to be sometime later. I think they're going to try and pin something on the Bell's Hells, though.
I personally, and this is absolutely because of the whole Essek thing, I think it's going to be later. I think these are some not so great people that they're going to interact with on a number of occasions, and they are going to turn on them 40 episodes down the road. Wrong game.
Yeah.
Or they're going to find out that they did something to turn against them. Maybe, I don't think this group wouldn't have been able to convince Essek to be good.
Oh, hell no. No.
So I don't think they'll be able to convince the Green Seekers. So yeah, I feel like they're, this campaign's Essek, and they're just, Bell's Hells aren't the type of people to convince people to be good.
And Essek, though, at their core, Essek was redeemable.
Yes,
I don't get that kind of vibe from the Green Seekers.
Essek was also a villain.
Yeah.
And the Mighty Nine changed him into not being, he was planned as being a villain. Matt has, I think, tweeted that Essek was supposed to be a villain and the Mighty Nine changed his storyline. So the way Essek went in the story that we saw was not Matt's original plan. He was supposed to be a villain. And I think he's doing that again since they fucking since they messed it up the first time around.
I get very much Dirty Cop vibes from the Green Seekers.
Yeah, I get.
And apparently they're the only ones. The Green Seekers are the Green Seekers. It's those two, and that's it.
One is I don't think they have this big thing about being against Paragon's call because they're mercenaries, but are they any different Because
Didn't seem like
I'm
it.
not understanding the difference between them and the Paragon's Call. They're still being paid by the Quandary Shar. Them. Yes. They're still being paid by them to investigate something.
The quorum,
Shonday Quorum. That's it.
Quorum,
Yes, I'm just mixing up the words. But like,
Shorum.
they're still being paid by them to investigate the thing. Isn't that what they do with Paragon's Call? Like, I don't see the difference. They're
at
still
the end of the
fucking
day,
mercenaries.
everybody's mercenaries. Yeah.
Yes. I don't see the difference between them and the mercenaries. They are mercenaries. I don't think they're like CIA or something like that. They're not officially sanctioned. They are paid by rich people. And
Matt did something in this episode that, as a DM, I would never do.
I would be so uncomfortable to do it as a DM.
He spent, it was a solid 10 minutes, it might have been longer, of RPing with himself, a broken up
Bad
couple.
romance, yeah.
And it was...
And then couples therapy.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for that, because
Oh,
that kind of made the secondhand embarrassment that I was having for Matt. That kind of alleviated that when Sam got involved and did the couples therapy thing. That made that a little less cringy.
Yeah.
But oh man, I would never do that.
Yeah, I can't even. I'd be so embarrassed.
If I had two NPCs who were going to interact with each other for a long conversation as like an info dump kind of a thing, I would just say this is the conversation they have, and I would
summarize.
Basically summarize.
Yeah, and so you get secondhand embarrassment all the time, even when you're watching it on TV.
Real bad, yeah.
I only get secondhand embarrassment if it's happening in front of me. So if something embarrassing happens in front of me, I feel that secondhand embarrassment. But when I'm watching it on TV, it's fine. So like movies and TV shows and even that was fine. But Orem gets secondhand embarrassment. He was real uncomfortable during that entire situation.
I didn't catch that either.
Oh yeah, Liam was like, Orem's just blushing and going and tracing lines with his sword. Like, oh yeah, super secondhand embarrassment.
See, I missed all of that. My eyes during that section were on.
Which is on Matt.
They were on Matt and Sam, and that's all I could see. I did catch though a moment between Ashley and Laura, and it was when they were something about they were transferring hands or something like that, and I think that either Ashley or Fern, I don't know if it was Ashley or her character.
Yeah, they're the same person.
We're thinking that, were they just like exchanging hands, like Billy, you take my hands, I'll take yours, and because Ashley whispered something to Laura, and Laura just had to put her head down for like a solid minute.
And like not terribly long after that, Taliesin whispered something to Liam and broke Liam, and I like you can't hear it, so I have no idea what he said. But
I really wish we could hear them sometimes.
I know. Or that they would tweet it later.
But then that would also cover up a lot of the other RPs.
Yeah, it really would. Yeah.
But I want to be in on the jokes.
Yes. I'm like, I even tweeted. I was like, "What did Tal just tell Liam? He's dying. He's dead."
Like, I understand why they're so quiet and we can't hear it. I get it, but I want to be in on the jokes.
I want to know what happened.
Moving on to the combat. It was a really long episode. It was a 5-hour episode, minus the breaks and stuff. It was probably 4 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. I didn't do the math, but it was a long episode. And when I watched it last night, could not really focus. I was kind of drifting off because we live on the East Coast. We're in Florida. So by the time this thing wrapped up, it was almost 3 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't really catch a lot of the combat. Oh my God, that freaking storm.
That was clutch.
That Imogen, oh my God.
Oh my God.
What spell is that? Is that a...
I don't know. It's a sorcerer spell, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a homebrew or if it's an actual spell. I've never played a sorcerer, so I have no clue.
I've not run a sorcerer. We have one sorcerer in our campaign that we're running right now, but y'all aren't high enough level.
Yeah, we're not high enough for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe you just hit level. Yeah, you're level 6 now.
Yeah,
so
but her sorcerer is very specific.
That's a very different kind of sorcerer.
So is Laura's.
Yeah.
Storm makes sense for Laura's
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
With
it doesn't make sense for our sorcerer.
No, it really doesn't.
No.
Our sorcerer's
a mortician.
Yeah. So everything of hers is centered around coffin nails and coffins and graves and stuff like that.
Yeah. But that spell
was freaking cool.
That was dope. and I can see how that spell wouldn't be great in certain situations, but in a cavern, fucking clutch. They had no choice. They had to go into it.
And in that split, she's like, okay, I can put the storm over here, but we can circumvent it by going around this other side.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through it. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a perfect location so that they could just keep coming in and killing themselves. Yeah. And got damage before and during their turn if they start, and then if they end, and then half their speed. That's a
good
spell.
And also something's going on with FCG. He has a paladin ability.
Yeah, Matt specifically said that he has that because of his subclass.
Yeah,
and his subclass I think is homebrew.
It is definitely a homebrew. It's a therapist kind of character.
Yeah, so.
But I think it's interesting that Matt and Sam got together and pulled stuff in from other classes.
Yeah, the subclasses do that. So some of them, not like all of them, but some of them do that. And I've noticed.
I just thought it was cool.
The critical role ones do, but yeah, I'm like that, and it's the perfect spell for his subclass. He is a helper robot. He's a therapy bot, and like healing people that much, that was so much healing. Like I think he got Chetney back to full health and Orm very close.
And I don't know how, because it's been a long time since I've run a paladin. I don't know how, because that was Aura Vitality.
Aura Vitality.
I don't know how long it lasts.
1 minute.
1 minute, so not very long.
No.
So
no.
But it was enough to get Roman back up.
During combat.
Yeah. Also, at the very beginning of the combat, I feel so bad for Marisha. That first round of combat, because she had an awesome idea. She was going to quicken spell Eldritch Blast, and her rolls were just dog shit.
And then
they were
even
so
when
bad.
She did Eldritch Blast and then split a different spell, or she did something else and then split an Eldritch Splash or something like that. I don't know. She did something else where she also did a similar thing.
She had cool ideas.
Yeah, and like,
in the dice.
I felt for her so bad because like I've been there. I had one session where I think my person attacked 6 times and didn't hit at all, and I was like, my dice hate me.
Yeah. And that's rough, though.
Yeah, it's so rough.
Because what was bad, what was especially difficult, or especially rough, is, and I know this as a DM and as a player, when you have like a really good idea, and the dice just don't go in your favor, that is so disheartening. And I felt that. I was like, oh, yes. I felt so bad.
As somebody whose dice hates her on a regular basis,
they really do.
I felt, yeah, it's bad, y'all. Like. 1 out of every 10 things I try to do succeeds. It's real bad.
And then the episode wraps up. They're in like another chamber, and Lady Emoth is there, and she's got like a lot of like normal human anatomy is just not there anymore. I'm like,
I picture Barbie doll.
Yeah, that's kind of what I imagined as well. And there's a 60-foot slug on the wall, and it gives birth to, well, at first when the slug gave birth to whatever that is, I thought it was the Nightmare King.
Oh yeah,
but it seems like it's something different, or maybe a new evolution of the Nightmare King or something.
I don't think
because the long arms and legs, I was like, oh, it's the Nightmare King, and the teeth and everything. I was like, oh, but then like it has another set of arms.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, is this like a new iteration?
And long black matted hair, and the Nightmare King's bald.
Yeah, and it's just, I got Nightmare King vibes, and then I didn't, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. I also definitely, I know he mentioned it in the episode, but before he even mentioned it, I could feel the Alien vibes from this, because Alien is one of my favorite franchises ever. I've seen all of the movies, I've read most of the books. I fucking love
Travis
Aliens.
Picked it up right away.
Yeah, Travis did right away. But like, yeah, it wasn't very long into it that I picked up the Alien vibes.
I do not think that they're going to end up fighting this thing.
No.
I think they're going to try and nab Lady Emoth and
GTFO.
Yeah.
I sure hope
That's the only thing they can do. They're going to lose this fight if they try to do it.
There's no way. There's no way. And then they need to grab her, get out of there, give her to the Green Seekers, and then they need to go see Gianna and get the fuck out of Dressar.
In fact, if I was going to make a prediction how this fight was going to go, I think this is where the Green Seekers are going to betray him. the Green Seekers are going to grab Lady Emoth and
then
ditch them.
And then ditch them.
Yeah,
and
I
let
think that's
them
how it's going
fend
to
for
go.
themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They could, yeah.
If I was DMing, that might be how I would do it.
I still think Matt is playing the long game with the Green Seekers.
Wouldn't
and
surprise me
that
with
it's
that,
going
too.
to be like 40 episodes away before they betray them, and that they stick with them for now.
It wouldn't surprise me if Matt's playing the long
but
game
I
because
do-
he's good at it.
I think that because they all kind of have that same plan. They're like, we need to get her and get the fuck out of here. None of them want to fight this thing. They all know that this is a bad idea. So I do think they'll grab her and get the fuck out. And because the Green Seekers have been pretty good so far, I think they'll let those two take Lady Moth, and they'll go and do their Heartmore.
I kind of feel bad for Taliesin because it's putting his little arc off a little bit more even.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I was really hoping we were going to get some Ashton lore
Yeah.
here, but it seems like we're going to wrap up this arc first, I guess.
Find it kind of interesting that when the Green Seekers came to them, we're doing their little interrogation in the alley, they were all like, what are we going to do? And literally everybody turned to Orym, including Ashton.
I missed that too.
Yeah, no, they all looked to Orym, and Orym was like, yeah, I guess we're gonna do this. I'm like, yeah, you're not a leader. And yeah, I know that the Heartmore has something to do with Orym's story, but I would argue that it's more Ashton's story.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Ashton literally gets his freedom by completing this mission in the Heartmore. Orym is just following a trail that's already cold.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Ashton's thing. They all really should have asked Ashton, but even Ashton looked to, Taliesin looked at Liam, but they're always so in character. I'm just assuming that was Ashton looking to Orym to say, okay, are we doing this?
Yeah. I felt bad for Taliesin.
Yeah.
And I want some, more Ashton
not
lore.
even for Taliesin. I feel bad for Ashton because this is literally fucking Ashton's freedom, and I already have a lot of opinions about Ashton and the Nobodies, and I think the Nobodies are that group of friends that are manipulative, and they're not actually your friends.
They're going to be at the Heartmore.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be there.
I think they're going to be the competing team. But, everybody has that group of friends that they think they're friends, and they don't realize that these people are just manipulating them and using them, and they only hang out with them when they have nobody better to hang out. That's the Nobodies. And when Ashton was no longer useful, they just fucking ditched them.
Yeah.
And so Ashton has this complex where they're not worthy, they're not good enough, they're broken. That's the vibes I get from them. And so when it came time to figure out what they were going to do, they looked to Orym and be like, you choose. My story's not important.
Who was it who called Ashton out in this episode? Was like, you play it off like you're this way, but you're really not.
That was Imogen.
Was that Imogen?
Yeah, and I don't think Imogen was correct in that instance. I do think Ashton has an asshole persona that's a front so that they don't get hurt. I absolutely think that, because that was me in my 20s. But when she called them out, when the Heart Seekers were saying we do it for good, and he's like, I kind of wish you'd be doing it for money. People say they do things for the right thing, but that's subjective. What's the right thing to do to me?
That's what that was for,
yeah. Yeah, and she said, you say that, but, and no, I actually think Imogen was wrong there. I think Ashton meant that 100%. They would rather they'd be doing it for money.
I think probably 90% of the time Imogen would have been right.
Yeah, and this was the one instance
yeah.
that she was wrong.
Yeah.
No, I do think Ashton meant that.
Yeah. Super long episode, super good episode. Would love to know what you think. So if there's anything that we missed, something that you think we should have mentioned that we didn't, let us know down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please let us know by dropping a like on it and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.
And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.